Dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at something I think everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
Making tough choices in relationships, especially those situations where saying yes can kind of lead to some simmering resentment.
Right.
But on the other hand, saying no just unleashes this huge wave of guilt.
It's the worst.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
And to really dig into this, we're going to be looking at an excerpt from Ruhun Inti Hanamu Susuluk Mu,
Okay.
which translates to Suicide of the Soul or Guilt.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty intense title, right?
Yeah, it is.
And, there's this one quote from Gabor Maté in this piece that really just hit me.
Okay.
It says, if rejecting something creates guilt, while consenting to it will leave you resentful, choose the guilt. Resentment is the suicide of the soul.
Wow. That's,
Heavy, right?
yeah, that's heavy stuff.
It is.
And, it really gets at, I think, something we all struggle with.
Yeah.
Like, how do we balance honoring our own needs with, not wanting to disappoint others or cause conflict?
Exactly. And we're always told, right, to keep the peace, to be the nice guy. But, where does that leave us? Yeah.
Right. And I think what Mate is getting at here is that sometimes that guilt that we feel when we say no, it can actually be a sign that we're on the right track.
Okay.
That we're actually respecting ourselves.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try and break this down a little bit with a real world example.
Sure.
Okay, so let's say your friend is moving
Okay.
and they ask you to help them.
Yeah.
But you've had the most insane week. You are exhausted. But you also know that they would be so bummed if you said no.
Oh, yeah. Classic example, right?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Right. Because on the one hand, helping out, even when it's a pain, seems like the nice thing to do.
Right.
But then again, are you just putting your own needs at the bottom of the list again?
Exactly. And that's where I think this idea of resentment really comes into play, because it's usually not this sudden burst of anger.
Right.
It's more like this slow burn
Yeah.
that builds up over time
Yeah.
when we constantly prioritize other people's needs over our own.
Okay, so then how do we tell the difference between healthy guilt
Yeah.
and this resentment type of guilt?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think what this excerpt is suggesting is that guilt can actually be like a signal.
Oh.
If you feel guilty saying no because it goes against your values.
Right.
Or, deep down, you're just stretching yourself too thin. That's telling you something. That's your body, your mind saying, hey, pay attention to this.
So it's almost like a gut check.
Yes, exactly.
Is this guilt telling me I'm kind of betraying myself here?
Right. And if it is,
Yeah.
then maybe leaning into that guilt, having that hard conversation.
Ugh, I hate those.
Yeah.
I know they're not fun, but it might actually be healthier in the long run.
Then just, stuffing it down and letting that resentment fester.
So, okay, resentment, bad. Got it.
Yes.
But, how does it actually hurt us? It's not like a broken leg or something.
True. It's not a physical injury.
Yeah.
But it can be incredibly damaging to our well-being.
Okay.
Resentment can show up in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, like how?
Like passive aggressiveness.
Hey, yeah.
Anger, withdrawing from relationships.
Right.
And it affects not only our emotional health, but also the quality of our connections with other people.
That makes sense. And it reminds me of this other part from the excerpt.
Yeah.
Where it talks about how resentment can get so deep that it just poisons everything,
Yeah.
It's that whole suicide of the soul idea that Maté was talking about.
Right. It's like it eats away at you from the inside.
Yeah. It's pretty heavy stuff.
It is. And that's why it's so important to catch it early.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, I think it starts with tuning into those moments of guilt and asking ourselves some tough questions. Like what? Is this about